Any updates on the avalanche of apostasy? We were talking about that today too. Is it accelerating? Also, is it true when people say more are apostatizing from Christianity? Question.
Well, yeah, I mean, you have to look at the statistics that are coming out with Pew International does this, and they look at people who are converting versus apostasy. The conversion rate, which is the opposite of apostasy.
Right.
You're not going to have much apostasy in Islam, because David said earlier, because of the penalties.
Yeah.
In chapter 4, verse 89
Yeah.
of the Quran, it's very clear. He who leaves Islam must be killed.
Yeah.
And all four schools of law, the Hanbali, the Hanafi, the Maliki, Shafi school, all dictate that they must be killed. The only difference they have is on what day they should be killed.
Yeah.
But as far as conversion, which is the flip side of that, Muslims have about 2.5% conversion rate. We have a 5% conversion rate. So we're double their conversion rate. Getting back to the earlier question about why is Islam growing so fast? It's not necessarily in prisons they're growing fast. It's really biological growth. They have bigger families.
And the Pew study said that. That's exactly what the Pew research study that said Islam is the fastest growing religion, said it's birth rates.
Yeah. And you see why. In Britain, when they found out the average woman in Britain has 1.8 children. I don't know how she does, but the average Muslim woman has 4.2. So that's double the national average. Now that's just Britain. It's much the same thing in other countries in the West. It'd be greater in Muslim countries because of the fact that polygamy is so much more rampant there. So don't be surprised that the conversion rate is the least problem. That's the worst that they have. It's the biological growth. And one of the things that we forget here in the West, when you are born a Muslim, you stay a Muslim because of the apostasy laws. So they don't leave Islam except on either penalty of death or there's all kinds of persecution, like we were talking about earlier. Whereas Christianity, anybody can leave and go. We don't have this persecution. We don't have anything that comes close to the apostasy law.
That's right.
And Qaradawi had made that famous statement. He says it's only because of the apostasy law that Islam has been able to be maintained. Without the apostasy law, there would be no Islam.
Right.
Well, that's quite an admission.
Yeah. Because I wonder if we would never probably be able to have actual numbers of people who have internally,
No, I mean, the estimates are between like 5 and 10% of Muslim people who are counted as Muslims in Muslim countries are actually closet atheists. Right. They just can't say it
so openly.
But we've seen over and over, like Asadullah Ali. He said everywhere he goes, people come up to him because they trust him and they say, I mean, I'm a student at the madrasa. I don't believe this, but I can't tell my parents this, and so on. He says he's met hundreds, just when he goes around to speak someplace, he's met hundreds of people who are living as Muslims and are actually closeted ex-Muslims. And so this is going on all over the place. But notice, I mean, in Christianity, you don't have that. Your families usually won't. I mean, sometimes they will, but they're not going to we never want to see you again. It can happen, but not nearly to the extent that it happens.
Rarely does it happen. It's mostly just disappointment. And then there's an awful lot of prayer going on. And that's the beauty of it. I mean, I can give you case after case in our own family. We have a number of cousins who have left the Lord. And what's the first thing they do? They just get on their knees and start praying. The families do. My wife, 3 brothers left the Lord. We prayed diligently. They've all come home again.
Oh, wow.
So, folks, we allow people to go. We allow them to make that choice. That's the beauty of Christianity. Adam and Eve were given that choice. So are we. And look at the prodigal son. What a great story that is. Because that's exactly our story. God allowed, the father allowed the son to leave, take his inheritance, but he never gave up on the son. He sat there at the door waiting for the son to come home. And when the son came home, he ran out, grabbed him, hugged him, and had a banquet. And that's what kind of God we have. And that's why, every one of these people, even when you see that they are leaving, you keep praying them in. God's going to bring them home again. And that's why we don't have to penalize them. We don't have to eradicate them. And we certainly don't have to. It's not a capital offense. Not at all. But in Islam, it is.
And so, yes, notice Christians right now could say, okay, anyone who leaves Christianity, we're going to kill him. That would affect the apostasy and so on. But you end up with, what would that do? You'd end up with a bunch of people who don't really believe, pretending to be
It's not the God we have. It's not the God we see from the very beginning.
You see this in the New Testament. Paul, Paul's attitude was, hey, if you don't want to follow this, there's the door of the church. But I mean, it's interesting because people don't understand. Like Muslims think it's better. Aha, we don't have the same level of apostasy right now. As far as is it accelerating?
No.
I mean, it was. I mean, Jay, you're old enough. I remember back in 2005, 2006, 2000. It was still very common to hear no Muslim leaves Islam. I heard that all the time back then.
Yeah.
And when someone like Nabil would leave Islam, they would be told, "No, you must be faking because we know that no one leaves Islam." And I'm just studying. I'm like, "What are you talking about? You had the apostasy wars in Islam. What are you even talking about?" But
Right.
it was so uncommon to hear about people leaving Islam that it was enough for them to say, "No, it never happens." Until it's there. You're talking by 2017, 2018. Muslims are the ones saying that 24% of young Muslims were leaving Islam. So you went from virtually none to 24%
And a lot of that has to
in
do,
like 10 years.
has a lot to do with what we're doing right here.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the internet. It's the social media. It's people like you, David, who have been so high profile, and that has made it, and it's exacerbated it, and for the Muslims. And that's why I just thank God that God has given us these tools, these vehicles,
Yeah.
so we can sit up here. And it's now, folks, I've got to go because it's 10:30.
Yeah.
My wife is calling me.
No, you're good.
But listen,
Yeah.
for me, I want to leave on this note. This has probably been the best time in my 40 years of experience. I've never had it this easy. I've never had it this good. I've never had guys like you that have been able.
You were by yourself for a long time.
We were by
I
ourselves.
know you had people around you, but I remember even when I started, I'm fairly new. I'm new compared to you, but I remember it was like 2 or 3 of us in the U.S. There was Tony Costa in Canada. There was you in the U.K. and there's Samuel Green in Australia. And those are the only people I could find who were really going after Islam.
And for 20 years, we were by ourselves. I remember at Speaker's Corner, there was only 5 of us against everybody, and the other 4 didn't know anything about Islam.
Yeah.
I was the only one that was a Muslim, a Muslim background advocate. But here's the fascinating thing: in the last 10 years, so we're talking about since about 2012, when the qira'ats were found, where we've gone. When Dan Brubaker in 2040 came up with his manuscript variants, the material that we've been able to get from the Inara group that's coming out on all the material on Mecca and Muhammad, we've never had it this good, and I've never seen so many Muslims leave Islam. Well, I wish I was young like you guys did. I wish I could start all over. I wish I had what you guys have to work with. I wish I had 40 years ago. But God bless you, and thank you so much
for
man.
No, appreciate
sticking
all
in there.
Yeah, you
hanging
too. I
in.
mean, you've done a lot. You've been in the game for longer than everybody else.
He's
That's
one of the pioneers.
Original,
Don't make me feel old again. But
yeah.
on that note, listen, God bless you. These have been good questions, and it's great that you're doing far-ranging questions like this. You've got 2 really good people here. More will come.
Appreciate that. Hey, man.
John,
Good to see you.
David.
Yep.
All right.
All right, cool.
See you next
All
time.
right, yeah. All right, good to see you.
Goodbye, everybody.
And on his note too, by the way, my old I lived in a condo before I moved in.
Must be nice.
I ran into a guy at the gym, and he was saying that he was a recent convert from Islam to Christianity, and you were a huge part of his conversion too, which is awesome too.
Oh, hey,
Yeah.
let me give you one last story.
Got a picture.
Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Let's
there
do
we
it.
We got a picture, folks.
Here we go.
This is just the millennial thing. Oh, did you get it?
I got it.
Okay.
Good guy, guys.
All right, cool. All right, see you, Jay. This is a millennial thing too, doing a piece or something. It's old people stuff.
I just want to give one last story. So I've been doing some videos with Brother Rashid and talking about like the people who are actually don't believe in Islam, and yet so Asadullah Ali, he was pointing out that it's like people who've memorized the Quran and they don't actually believe. People who are leading the prayers and they don't actually believe. But me and Rashid wanted to do something where one of the main arguments of the Quran is its supposed supernatural eloquence. And so we wanted to do a test. We wanted to have we wanted to have a reciter, a Quran reciter, recite some fake surahs. Right. Some other sources, but recite them the same way you recite the Quran.
Yeah.
And then we're going to ask people, okay, which is superior to the other, and ask them why. But you need an actual Quran reciter.
Yeah, yeah.
So he's looking around for one, right? And he actually finds one in Egypt who's an imam, right? And then the imam's like, yeah, I'll recite that stuff. I'll recite that stuff for you. And Rashid says, wait, you understand? I don't want you to come back later and be mad. So you understand what we're doing? We're having Quran and non-Quran so that people can see there's no difference. It's just the way you're reciting it. And the guy goes, yeah, no problem. I'll do it as long as you pay me. And so
Wow,
Rashid goes, wait, you're willing to do this? And the guy goes, yeah, it's a job. Right? It's a job.
Oh, that's
right. And Rashid goes, wait, you're a Muslim and you think this is okay? And he goes, no, I don't really believe this.
Oh,
and Rashid
wow.
goes, wait, you're an imam? And he goes, it's a job. So he's an imam. He treats it like a job. He doesn't even believe in Islam, and he's willing to help us expose it and stuff. And so that's going on all over the place, ladies and gentlemen.
All right. That was okay. That's when we were on. Okay. Was that the one?